Welcome to Easy English Space, where we don't just teach you English, we make you feel something while you learn it. And today, I want to say that a little differently, because this topic, this modern era versus vintage era for learning English, it actually hit me this week in a way I wasn't expecting. I'll tell you why in a minute, but first, if you're new here, you picked a really good episode to start with. Stay with us, it gets interesting.
Henry, okay, I have to just say this right away. I was preparing for today and I went down this rabbit hole, this deep rabbit hole at 2 in the morning, and I ended up watching a 1987 BBC English learning program on YouTube, like actual vintage television, and I could not stop watching.
Wait, really?
I could not stop. It was so slow. Everything was so deliberate. The teacher spoke like every word mattered. There were no jump cuts, no music, no animations, just a person and a blackboard and English. And I felt something I haven't felt in a long time while learning.
What did you feel?
I felt calm, like genuinely calm. And then I thought, oh no, is that a sign? Is my brain broken from modern content?
Okay, I feel that. But before we go fully vintage, let's actually ask this question properly. Because I think this debate, modern tools versus the old ways, it's more complicated than people think. And honestly, most of the advice I've seen on this topic misses the real point entirely.
Yes, okay, let's do this. But first, quick question for our listeners. Right now, how do you learn English? Is it apps, YouTube, podcasts, textbooks, old movies, or some mix of everything? Tell us in the comments. Just drop your method below. We genuinely read them. Henry especially reads them when he thinks I'm not looking.
That's not untrue. Okay, so let's set the stage. When we say the vintage era of learning English, what are we actually talking about?
So we're talking roughly pre-2005, before YouTube, before smartphones. The way people learned English was through physical textbooks, cassette tapes, radio programs, actual physical dictionaries, pen pals, and if you were lucky, maybe a BBC or Voice of America broadcast on shortwave.
And the classroom. Don't forget the classroom. One teacher, 30 students, a chalkboard, and maybe a tape player that never worked properly.
Yes, the tape player. It was always broken on the important day.
Always. And then the modern era, which we're fully inside now, is apps like Duolingo, streaming platforms, podcasts like this one, AI conversation partners, YouTube channels, TikTok language lessons, Google Translate in your pocket, subtitles on everything, and access to native speakers literally anywhere on Earth through the internet.
So on paper, the modern era wins. Obviously. More tools, more access, more content. Done. Case closed. Right?
Right. Except, no, not really.
Talk to me.
Here's the first thing that most people get wrong about this, and this is going to sound strange, but stay with me. The vintage era produced more fluent speakers, not because the methods were better, but because the scarcity forced depth.
Oh, say more right now.
When someone in 1975 had one English textbook and a cassette tape with 12 dialogues on it, they didn't have the option to skip to the next thing. They listened to those 12 dialogues until they knew every word, every rhythm, every pause. They didn't have infinite content. They had 12 sentences, and they mastered them.
That's okay, that actually hurts a little, because I have access to thousands of hours of English content, and I sometimes feel like I haven't really absorbed any of it. Like I'm just watching, not learning.
Exactly. And that's the counterintuitive truth number one today. More content does not mean more learning. In fact, for most people, more content is the enemy of depth. The vintage learner with 12 sentences on a cassette tape often beat the modern learner drowning in 1,000 YouTube videos.
Okay, I feel personally attacked, but I also feel like I needed to hear that.
Haha, good. That's what we're here for.
Okay, but Henry, I want to push back a little because I think there's something the vintage era couldn't give you that the modern era can, and it's actually massive.
Go ahead.
Real voices, real accents, real human English from real people living their real lives. In the vintage era, the English you heard was almost always scripted, planned, rehearsed. It was BBC English, perfect, formal, controlled. You didn't hear the way a New Yorker actually talks on the subway. You didn't hear Australian slang, or Caribbean English, or how Indian English sounds in a Bangalore tech office. You heard one version of English, and you thought that was the whole language.
That's a fair point. That's a really fair point, actually.
And I think that created a certain kind of learner, someone very correct, very formal, who then went to an English-speaking country and got completely lost in the first real conversation because nobody talked like the cassette tape.
Yeah, I know someone like that.
Wait, who?
Me, kind of. I mean, I learned from textbooks for years, really traditional methods. And I remember the first time I watched a fast-paced American TV show, not a learning show, just a real show people watch, and I understood maybe 40% of it, and I thought I was fluent.
Oh no.
I was so confused. I knew grammar, I knew vocabulary, but the rhythm, the idioms, the speed, the way people cut each other off and finish each other's sentences, I had no idea. The textbook never taught me that conversations are messy on purpose.
That's such an honest thing to say, Henry, and I think a lot of our listeners are nodding right now, because that exact gap, that gap between textbook English and real spoken English, it's one of the most painful moments in a learner's journey.
It is. And here's the thing that I wish someone had told me earlier. The modern era actually solves that problem better than anything in history. Real conversations, real accents, real speed, real mess. It's all there. The question is whether you use it right.
Okay, so here's a practice moment, and I want everyone to actually do this with us. This is a phrase from natural spoken English that you'd never find in a 1970s textbook, but you'll hear every single day in real conversation. Ready? Say this after us. It kind of makes sense, you know?
It kind of makes sense, you know?
One more time, a little more natural, like you're just talking to a friend. It kind of makes sense, you know?
It kind of makes sense, you know?
Beautiful. That phrase, it kind of makes sense, with that trailing you know at the end, it's casual, warm, uncertain in a friendly way. Very human, and that is pure modern English. No textbook from 1985 would have taught you that.
Actually, can I tell you something funny? I found an old English phrase book from 1962 recently, a physical one, and the practice dialogues inside were things like, "Good afternoon, I should like to purchase a stamp, if you please," and "Certainly, sir, will that be for domestic or international correspondence?"
Oh no.
And look, beautiful English, perfectly correct. But if you walked into a post office today and said, "I should like to purchase a stamp, if you please," people would think you were doing a theater performance.
Or that you were very, very lost.
Exactly. So context matters. The English of the vintage era was correct, but it was often English frozen in a specific social moment that doesn't really exist anymore.
But here's where I want to defend the vintage era for a second, because I don't think it's fair to just laugh at it. There's something in the old methods that the modern era has almost completely lost, and it genuinely worries me.
What's that?
Patience with silence, sitting with difficulty. In the vintage era, if you didn't understand a word, you stopped, you thought, you looked it up in a physical dictionary. That process of going to find the answer, writing it down, saying it out loud, using it in a sentence, you owned that word by the end. It was yours.
And now?
Now, you hover over the word, the translation pops up in 2 seconds, you read it, you forget it in 4 minutes, and you keep scrolling. The friction is gone. And the friction was actually the learning.
That's counterintuitive insight number 2 for today, and I want to make sure everyone hears this clearly. The difficulty was not an obstacle to learning. The difficulty was the learning. When the vintage learners struggled to find a word, their brain was working hard, making connections, building memory. That struggle was doing something important. Modern tools removed the struggle and accidentally removed some of the learning too.
And I'm not saying go back to cassette tapes. I'm saying bring some of that intentional struggle back into your modern learning. Sit with a word a little longer. Try to guess the meaning before you translate it. Let yourself be confused for 30 seconds before you reach for your phone.
I love that. And here's something I want our listeners to actually think about, because this is the middle of the episode, and I think it's the right moment to ask, which era do you actually relate to more? Did you grow up learning English with books and tapes and radio, or did you grow up swiping on apps and watching YouTube? Does it feel different in your body when you learn those two ways? Tell us in the comments. I mean that genuinely. I'm curious what you experienced.
Okay, so I want to bring in a story here because I think it makes this real. I have a friend, her name is Sarah, and she moved to Canada about 6 years ago. And she'd studied English for years back home. Very traditional method. Textbook, grammar drills, vocabulary lists. She was good. Her written English was beautiful. And then she got to Canada and she told me, she said, "Julia, the first week I was there, I went to buy groceries and the cashier said to me, 'You all set?' And I froze. I had no idea what that meant."
Oh no.
She said she stood there for about 4 seconds thinking, all set? Set for what? And then she just smiled and nodded and walked away and went home and looked it up. "You all set" means, are you ready? Are you done? Is everything okay? It's super casual, but she'd never heard it because no textbook ever taught it.
And that moment, that freezing, that 4-second gap between hearing and understanding, that's the moment that breaks confidence. That's the moment where people think, I thought I was good at English, and now I feel like a beginner again.
And she told me that moment in the grocery store actually changed how she studied from then on. She stopped doing grammar exercises and she started watching Canadian YouTube. Just regular people talking about regular things. Vlogs, podcasts, cooking shows. And within 6 months, her confidence was completely different.
That's beautiful. That's actually the modern era doing exactly what it's best at.
But here's the twist in the story. 2 years later, Sarah told me that she felt like her English had a hole in it. She was fluent in conversation, but she struggled to write a formal email. She struggled in job interviews. She struggled when she needed precise, careful, structured English, because she'd moved entirely away from the structured learning into just absorbing content, and she'd overcorrected.
So she'd traded one gap for another.
Exactly. And that's the real answer today, isn't it? It's not modern versus vintage. It's that each era solved different problems, and the ideal learner takes both.
I think so. And I want to say something here that's maybe a little heavy, but I think it needs to be said. Because there's a kind of learner out there right now. I can almost picture them. They're probably watching this on their phone. They've downloaded every app, they follow 20 English channels, they have playlists and notebooks and goals, and they still feel stuck, and they feel like something is wrong with them.
Yeah.
And I want to speak directly to that person for a second, because I was you. Not exactly, but I had a version of that. I was consuming so much content and progressing so slowly that I started to think the problem was me, that I wasn't smart enough or disciplined enough or talented enough for this language.
Henry.
And here's what I wish I'd known then. The problem wasn't me. The problem was that I was using modern tools with a vintage mindset of passive consumption. I was treating a streaming service like a textbook, watching without practicing, listening without producing, and you cannot learn to speak by only listening. At some point, you have to open your mouth, even if it's wrong, especially if it's wrong.
That got quiet for a second, in a good way.
Yeah, sorry, it's just something I don't normally say out loud.
No, don't apologize. That's exactly the kind of honest thing people need to hear, and I think the listeners felt that.
Okay, so where does this leave us practically? If you're a learner right now, today, what do you actually do?
All right, so here's what I think the research and real experience actually show. The modern era wins for input. Listening, reading, exposure. Nothing in history beats access to real native content in your pocket. Use that. Use it aggressively. But the vintage era wins for output and discipline, repetition, writing by hand, structured practice, reading sentences aloud until they live in your mouth.
So the formula isn't pick a side. The formula is use modern tools for exposure and use vintage discipline for output.
Yes! And here's a tiny practical thing you can do starting today. Pick one English podcast or YouTube video you like. Listen to it once. Then, the vintage move, write down 3 sentences you heard, ones you liked, ones that felt natural. And then say those sentences aloud 10 times each. Not 5, 10. Until they live in your mouth, not just in your head.
And here's your repeat after me for the practice section. We're going to give you one line that sounds natural in modern spoken English and one line that comes from the kind of careful, structured English that the vintage era was great at producing. Ready?
First line, casual, modern English. I wasn't really sure what to do with that, honestly.
I wasn't really sure what to do with that, honestly.
Say it again. I wasn't really sure what to do with that, honestly.
Now the structured vintage style line. After careful consideration, I found the situation somewhat unclear.
After careful consideration, I found the situation somewhat unclear.
Same feeling, different register. Both are useful. Both are English. Knowing when to use each one, that's fluency.
That's actually a beautiful way to put it. Knowing when to use each one is fluency. I'm writing that down.
Haha, please do. Okay, so we're getting near the end, and I want to ask everyone one thing. Think about your own journey with English for a second. Which part feels most alive to you right now? Is it the modern part, the apps and the videos and the content? Or is it the old school discipline, the writing, the reading, the careful study? Because I think wherever the answer is almost did, that's where you need to go.
Ooh, that's a really good way to look at it.
It's like a garden. You water what's dry.
Okay, that was surprisingly poetic for a Saturday morning conversation about cassette tapes.
Thank you. I'm full of surprises.
You really are. Okay, honestly, if this episode made you think differently about how you're learning, or if you have a story, a vintage memory, a favorite old method, a modern tool that changed your life, please share it in the comments. We love reading your stories. It genuinely makes this feel like a community and not just a broadcast.
And if you're not subscribed yet, just hit that button. We make episodes like this one every week, and you don't want to miss them. It takes literally 1 second, and it means a lot to us.
For today's homework, and there's no pressure on this, write 1 sentence in the comments. Tell us which method helped you most, old or new. Just 1 sentence. Don't overthink it, just share.
And for next time, we're doing something I've been wanting to do for a while. We're going to teach you how to talk to your doctor in English, the real phrases, the ones you actually need when you're nervous and in a medical office and you can't find the words. It's practical, it's important, and I promise it's going to be more interesting than it sounds.
It's going to be really good. We'll see you there. Take care of yourselves, keep learning, and remember, whether you're team vintage or team modern, the only method that doesn't work is the one you quit.
See you next time.